Welcome to today's workshop. It's absolutely lovely to have you all here. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday with me. I'm Rachel. I'm a vocal feminization coach and trans woman, and I've been teaching vocal feminization lessons for around about the last 3 years. I absolutely adore it. For me, my voice is one of the things that really held me back from transitioning for years. My voice was one of the first to break when I was in school, and it broke pretty hard, let me tell you. My voice originally, it was right the way down here, and so I didn't think that there'd be any sort of way that I could get a voice that felt affirming to me, that felt comfortable, that I felt, I could move through the world easily with, and especially on things like VRC, where our voice, matters for so much. It's really difficult, but it turns out that there is so much that we can do with our voice. Voice is so flexible. Even if you have a really low starting point like myself, it's no worries. Voice is so flexible, and there's so much that we can do. So today we're going to be taking on a few different volunteers up on stage to work with them to assess where they are with their vocal journey and to be able to see what sort of problems they're experiencing and then be able to give them advice and exercises to get them over the little hump wherever that might be. So as we go on through today, there's a few little bits of housekeeping that I'd like to go through. As we're going through the lecture, I'd like to politely ask that you all stay quiet as we have people on stage, just out of respect for everybody else in the crowd, because I know that it can be quite loud if we've got a few people chatting. Feel free to go into the courtyard if you'd like to have a conversation, but if we can, while we're in the stands, please do keep it quiet as we go. Now, there will be different points where I might ask you to do some different exercises as a group. The first one is to give me a big old hello. Can I get a big hello from everyone, please?
Hello.
Hello. Great. Hi. So apart from that, I've got a few little bits on safety that I'd like to talk to you about. Today, nothing that we do should hurt. If you find that you've got any sort of pain, either while doing an exercise or your voice or afterwards, please do stop what you're doing and let somebody know, let myself know or another vocal coach know, and try to refrain from practicing until then. Voice feminization should normally be pretty safe. I haven't had anybody in any of my private classes develop any sort of vocal pathologies, and I don't want anyone here to be the first, touch wood. So if any pain happens, if any squeezing happens, and you feel quite tense, try and relax, save it, and go over again another day. This is a marathon and not a sprint. It definitely takes time for us to be able to acclimate our voice up to where we want it to be in a feminine range. So if you feel as though you can't quite do an exercise yet, don't worry. Everyone's got different starting points. Things can really impact the voice. Things like how much we use it. If we don't talk very often, it might be more difficult and take a little bit more time, but that's all okay. If we have things like acid reflux or any sort of vocal injuries previously or allergies, again, they can make things a little bit more tricky, but we can still get there. It just takes more time. So if you are trying anything that you learn here today and you're feeling that's not quite right for you, try it at a lower level. If it's pitch, try it at a lower pitch. If it's resonance, try going a little darker, etc., just to where you feel comfortable. I know there's a saying, no pain, no gain, but this definitely does not apply to voice. So please, please, please take it nice and easy as you go through all of this stuff here. So a little bit about me. I've been teaching for 3 years, and you can find me over at transvoice.com. I do offer private one-on-one lessons as well as the classes that I give here every other Sunday. We are working to take on and educate some other coaches here to get more and more services for the community going. So watch this space. We should have some more classes soon. As well as that, we have a little bit of a giveaway today, which is quite exciting. Can I get a woo from the crowd, please? There we go, a little bit of a delay, but that's all right. We'll all wake up. So we're going to be giving away a Blue Yeti Snowball microphone. It's a really lovely piece of kit. I highly recommend it as a mic. It's really, really good quality. You don't have to be in the United States for this as well. This can be anywhere in the world, but what you do need to do is head on over to the Discord and pop in the password to our little form, which is Yay Voice Retreat. And that's all in lower caps, YAYVOICE RETREAT and exclamation mark. Yay, voice retreat, no spaces, exclamation mark. And that will enter you into the draw. There aren't that many people on the spreadsheet yet, so there's a good chance that you could win this. So please do go ahead and check that out there as well. So today we're going to be talking about voice, of course, and just to kind of get a little bit of a feel for the room, I'd love it if everybody could stick their hands up if this is the first time to a class like this here at the Academy. Is it anybody's first time? Cool, a couple of people. Awesome. And who's been here before? Who's taken one of these classes before? A few familiar faces, and I recognize some of you as well. Hello, hello. Okay. And on that note as well, what about the people who have been feminizing their voice or working on their voice so far? Who's been working on their voice currently? Yeah, cool. Awesome. And who's brand new to voice work? Who's just getting started?
As in we are trying right now, or have been for a while?
Oh, just generally, have you tried to work on your voice previously is the thing. Yeah. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So over the course of today, I'm going to be using a few different terms with different people that come up on stage, and I want to just quickly define these terms. You can find out more about this over in the recorded lectures. I gave a 3-part lecture series early on here at the Academy, and you can find that over at the VRC Trans Academy YouTube page, and that'll give you a wonderful primer into working with voice and understanding the different mechanics that we're going to be working with today. But in any case, I want to give you all a quick overview. So we're going to be working with pitch. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just how high or low the voice is. We're also going to be working with something called vocal weight. Can I get a quick show of hands? Who's heard of vocal weight before? Maybe, yeah, a few people. Cool, 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 cool. If you haven't, no worries. So vocal weight is all about how hard or how soft the voice is. It's all about how much we kind of put oomph into it. So one exercise I always love to use is if we imagine that we've got a really cute kitten or a dog in front of us, and I want you all to try this with me. We're going to go for a nice soft, I'm going to count you in on the count of 3, and I want you all to give me a really nice, really soft ah. And it's going to be a 3, 2, 1. Ah. Can I get a lovely noise? Beautiful. Very light vocal weight. Perfect. Now, I want you to imagine this creature is adorable, but it's just thrown up all over you. It's very grim. There are chunks, and it's terrible. I want you all to give me, again on the count of 3, a really good ah, please. I don't want this. I don't want any I don't want any rumblies. But I want a nice, strong voice. And again, 3, 2, 1. Ah. Good. And that's a very heavy vocal weight. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. So the way in which we hear this in the voice is vocal feminization. We want to have a nice high pitch. There's a lot of freedom of where we can go, but generally we want to be anywhere between 150 to 250 hertz-ish. Now, but we also want to have a nice soft weight. So as you can hear me at the minute, it's quite a bit softer than if I had a heavier weight. Now, you might recognize some of this in yourself. I think that there's this word among the community of it being the trans femme buzz. And if you feel some of this in yourself, then working on weight is going to be really helpful. It's all about how hard we drive the voice. Finally, we also have vocal resonance. Now, resonance is a little bit different. Let's see here. So resonance is all about this stuff here. It's all about the size and shape of these 3 different areas. R1, the throat space, R2, the mouth space, and R3, the lips. If we have a smaller space, we get a brighter sound. If we have a bigger space, we get a darker sound. And this is a really powerful tool. It's likely that a lot of the volunteers that I have up here today will be working on this too. The way in which we hear this is in dark and bright. So if I keep talking on this note right here, and then if I start to make all of these spaces really big, it sounds really throaty and masculine. This is a very dark sound. As I start to shrink these spaces to be smaller and smaller and smaller, you can hear that the voice really transforms a lot in its aesthetic. So part of what we'll be doing today is indeed looking at these 3 different areas and seeing ways that we can get more consistent with manipulating this space. So from the top, we've got pitch, how high or low the voice is. We've got vocal weight, how hard or soft the voice is. We also have the space. Okay, so in this here, there are a few different areas that are important for us. The power is the breath. Oftentimes, if you find you've got a weak voice, a shaky voice, if you're not able to use it very well, it might have something to do with the breath. If the breath isn't moving right, we aren't going to have a good time. We've then got the sound source. This is the vocal folds within the larynx, and this is where our pitch happens and our weight happens. Then we've got the filter, and this is where all of this resonance magic happens as well. So there's kind of 3 different areas that we're going to be looking at today too. So, with that brief little intro getting started, I would like to go on ahead and take on my first volunteer here. And so, if ever you do want to volunteer for these things, we are still taking volunteers. The form is still live. But what you need to do is go onto the server, go onto the intake form, and then go ahead and sign up, and we'll be able to pick you out from the crowd. So, our first person on here today, let's take a little look here. I've got Luna Sapphire YT. Is Luna about in the crowd? Do I have a Luna? Oh, I might not. Okay. No worries. We'll move on. Oh, we do?
She can't today.
Okay, no problem. No problem at all. Let's move on. All right. I've also got Eleanor VR. Is Eleanor VR in the house? Yep, I see you. Wonderful. Get yourself up on stage and have a big old round of applause for Eleanor, please. It takes a lot of guts to get up on here. Woo! Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well done.
Oh, that wasn't a very good round of applause, everyone. Come on, let's give it the beans. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much. So, hello, Eleanor. Oh, one other little house rule. I'm going to give 10 minutes on the clock to everybody. So just to make sure that we can keep everything moving, I'm going to give everyone 10 minutes. I'm going to start that timer now. And when the alarm goes off, we'll go ahead and move on. Okay. And that's the timer started. So, hello, Eleanor. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Hello.
Welcome up onto the stage. How are you?
I'm doing okay. A little nervous, but I guess that's to be expected.
Absolutely, yes. It's no worries. And I know the stage can really bring the nerves out of you. I know when I got started on here, I was like, oh my God. So great job coming on up here. So I'd love to ask you, how have things been with voice training so far? How long have you been up to it? And how have things been going in your own words?
I've been off and on for a while. I started with Z's videos on YouTube. Recently I've been going for about 3 months now. I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it. I still have some trouble separating a few of the components of voice. I think mostly my resonance and pitch are a little hard to separate for me.
Cool. Awesome. I can hear you've done some great work. I can hear at the minute as you talk to me that your voice is moving really melodically. It's melodically. God, that word's hard. Melodically. It's moving around really nice. And I can hear that you've raised the pitch definitely as well. You're getting up into the zone where we want to be. I think that you're right, though. I think that the main thing that I'm hearing at the minute is that the voice is a little bit too heavy, the weight is a little bit too high, and the resonance is still just a little bit dark in some areas. So I'd love to help you out with this. I'd love to know what sort of exercises, with you watching some of these videos, have you been working with so far, and how have you found them? Like how have they been working for you?
I've mostly been working with the softies, mostly the M and V types. I have not so much done like the straw in the water, or I have a really hard time with the lip trills. I just can't get my lips to move that way for whatever reason.
No worries, it happens. Cool, awesome. So just for everyone in the crowd, SOVTEs are a collection of exercises that we can use to develop our pitch. There are a bunch of different sounds like all this stuff, and can give us a nice safe environment to practice pitch. So aside from that, have you been working with any whisper exercises or anything to target that R1, R2, and R3 space that we had on the screen a little while ago?
I have not, no.
Cool. Okay, well, let's take a look at some of those together. So one of the really cool things about voice is that if we feminize the whisper, we feminize the voice. If I have a lovely hello, 1, 2, 3. By the way, can you all hear that at the back? Is that coming through? Can I get a big old thumbs up if so?
Yes.
Yep,
Yes,
cool beans. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if we have a lovely feminine whisper and we start to talk through it, we'll have a lovely bright voice. If I have a big masculine whisper, oi, 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 and I start to talk through it, and it sounds way more mask. So I want to start to move this whisper around with you. I'm always like, oi, oi, oi. It's the Brit in me, I swear. So what we're going to do is start off with a big old yawn. I want you to place your hand gently on your neck for me. We're going to find your larynx, find your madam's apple, okay? And I want you to take a really nice big for me, please. Beautiful. Beautiful. So a yawny sound is a dark sound. They're one and the same. These spaces, especially the R1 space, are going to be really, really big. And you might have felt that when you did that, the larynx dropped down a little bit. That's where we're going to start off this exercise. And what we're going to do is try and raise up the larynx. We're going to raise up the back of the tongue as well. The two things are connected. And we're going to try and get the sound to move around a little bit here. So let me go ahead and go back to some of these sounds. We're going to start off with an E sound over here. And what I would like you to do is take a big, old yawn again and give me a nice, big, dark E. Try and match me here. Beautiful. Now keep that lovely E sound. Try and stay as relaxed as you can. Move that tongue up and forwards and listen to what I'm going to do and mimic me afterwards. Feel free, everyone, to copy this with your mics muted. Can you try that? Well done. That's absolutely awesome. You nailed that. Absolutely nailed it. Did that feel nice and comfy? That you didn't have any sort of pain or anything like that?
I felt a fair bit of tension in that last one.
Absolutely. That's to be expected. So this exercise, it's called the big dog, small dog exercise. We're starting with a very big space and making it smaller and smaller and smaller. When we're new to this, we're going to start to incorporate and use lots of different muscle groups that aren't going to help us out. It's just kind of like if you're trying to learn to flare your nostrils, you'll end up blinking and moving your face in weird ways. It's the same thing here. We're firing a message from our brain generally to the area, and we're squeezing a little bit. The goals of this exercise are twofold: to get nice and brighter, and to relax, 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 and try and aim specifically at the muscles that are responsible for this. I recommend doing this exercise multiple times a day, multiple times an hour even if you can. It only takes 5 seconds. And just get really nice and acquainted with that. But I want to go ahead and take it one step further with you today. First of all, I need to see how your pitch matching is. Can you go ahead and try and see if you can match me with a lovely sound over here, please? Beautiful. And once again, can you give me a 1, 2, 3, 4?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Beautiful. You can hit that pitch nice and easy. That's a G3. It's a lovely place to start to work on this stuff here. So we're going to go for a really nice big dark E sound in the whisper. And then we're going to try and make a really nice big yawny E up at this pitch over here. Here we go. Have a listen to mine and then try and give it a go. Kind of sound like an opera singer, right? Can you try and match me there, please? Good, awesome. And again, nice and relaxed. Try and relax the back of your neck a little bit and that tongue. And again. Better, awesome. We're going to stay there, and then we're going to try and do that exact same motion that you did before, just with a voiced E sound. Have a listen. E, E. Try that for me, please.
E.
Good, awesome. Now what I want to do is start to tackle some of that heaviness. Okay, I can still hear it at the minute. E. We're leaning quite hard into that sound. I'm going to see if we can do that exact same thing. You nailed it. I want to do it a little softer. We're going to try and kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this exercise. So again, but even softer this time. Have a listen. E. E. E.
E. E. E.
Good work. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you're moving that really well. I don't think that you've got any problem with pitch and resonance separation. You're able to do that without the pitch wandering. One thing that I see really often when people start to do this is that we have an people start to move the pitch, but you're keeping it really nice and steady. As I hear you as well, I think that I can hear that there's a lot of potential for where the sound can go. I think that you can continue to get brighter with the sound. So what I would like you to do in your practice is to go on ahead and to practice this whisper exercise, to explore new heights with how bright you can get in the whisper, and then try and translate those from the whisper as a blueprint into the voice. So let's try this together. Let's try and explore this relationship of the whisper and the voice. First of all, we're going to whisper the E. Then we're going to make that E sound on the tone, and we're going to step it up. I want to take it step by step. We're going to start with a very big one together. Can you try this with me? Beautiful. Now we're going to take a step up with the whisper. Have a listen. E. Good. Now we're going to try and take 4 different whispered E's. You've got it. You nailed it. And we're going to try and get really nice and bright. I want you to give me a big old smile. I know it sounds silly, but a big old smile as you do this, and it'll help you to get even brighter. Have a listen. E. Now on that last one, did you feel that the pitch moved a little bit? Did you feel that it went?
I think it did, yeah.
And kind of jumped up. Yeah, absolutely. But really, really well done. So work with that. I'd say the main thing for you is that I can hear that in the whisper, we identified a bit of tension coming in, and we identified that I think, from my experience, that you can still keep on getting brighter. You would be amazed at how bright we can get. For me personally, I was teaching for a year. I thought, my brightness, it's plateaued. I've kind of reached my biological, physiological limit. And then I went even further, and I went whoop and got even brighter, like even after a year of teaching. And that's us just about up to time. Thank you so much. Can I get a huge round of applause for Eleanor, everybody, please? You did really, really well. Thank you so much. So really, really, really awesome work there. And it's a really lovely place to start. So what we had there was something really, really common. When we start working with resonance, it's very odd for us in our bodies. It's very rare for us to really start to move these muscles individually without going down this rabbit hole of voice feminization. Most people spend their whole lives without ever really trying to get individuated control of these muscle groups. Now, one approach that we could have taken would be to try and go up into that bright sound and start reading. But I felt that with how I heard the resonance coming in and the squeezing that I heard and the where it got to, just from experience, I felt as though the element could get brighter. What was likely to happen is if we jumped just straight into reading, that it probably would have gotten a little bit darker. It probably would have slipped back. So in these first stages, go ahead and explore your resonance, explore moving it from dark to bright. There are 2 other little rules about this exercise that I didn't quite get to just because of time. Number 1, we want the whisper to be really nice and clear. If we have any of this, and it sounds like we're practicing for a black metal band, that's not good. It's not good at all. The reason is that it'll start to activate something called false vocal folds. These ventricular folds or false vocal folds give the sound a really raspy quality. We don't want that because as we go into the voice, hello, you'll start to hear that things get pretty difficult. So you want that whisper to be really, really nice and soft, really nice and clear and pure in its tone. We don't want any raspiness. Rule number 2 is that if you start on an E, end on an E. If you start on an A, end on an A. You can use all of these different vowels that we have here on the screen. E, A, I, O, U. You can have all the little versions of these 2. E, A, E, A, E. Or like if I go for an A, same thing. If it starts on an A, end it on an A. And if you practice that for a couple of weeks, Eleanor, just in the background with your life, I promise you'll get more and more well acquainted with it. Then you'll be ready for the next step of starting to use this in speech even more. Great work, really, really great work. Okay, so I want to move on to volunteer number 2 now. And let's take a look at this sheet. I'm just going to give it a quick refresh here. Can I just check from the staff, is this dynamically updated, just to double check?
Yes, it is dynamically updated.
Yep. Great, thank you. Good. Okay. Actually, I just want to take a quick break for questions. We went over a bunch of stuff so far. Can anybody raise their hand if they've got a question, anything we've talked about so far, just relevant to this rather than any sort of broader voice questions? Yes, hello there, Glitched Orbit. How can I help? What's your question?
So, like, when practicing like the whisper, like how do you like work on actually keeping a whisper and not falling into like doing your actual voice?
Yeah, so the question there is when you're practicing the whisper, how do you ensure that you stay in the whisper and not go into the voice? It really is trial and error. Have a listen to yourself. And if you feel that he is coming in, you're starting to use your voice, take a step back, relax, try again. Trial and error is going to be the best thing. Try and as well increase your awareness and perception of everything that's going on inside the throat. If you feel that your vocal folds are starting to come together a little bit, try and keep those apart, and we should have a nice clear flow of air. Good question. It's just going to be practice is the main thing. Practice feeling any vibrations, increasing your awareness, and just keeping at it, and you'll be golden on that one. Any other questions for the last volunteer? I think I see a hand over here. Hello, Devorah. Hi. Me?
Yes.
I think so. Oh, I can't quite see your
that's
name.
the
Oh,
name,
Dreamer. Hi. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, what's your question, Dreamer?
I was just wondering, could you tell us what SOFT stands for?
Yeah, SOFTE stands for semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. They were made by this really
Thank you.
smart dude called Ingo Tietze, and semi-occlusion means partially covered. Vocal tract is everything from the larynx to the lips, and exercise is an exercise. And by covering the vocal tract, we create back pressure, and that helps us to get a safe environment to practice pitch. Vera, hi, question, how can I help?
Greetings. My
Greetings.
question is about the giveaway. Where do we sign up for the giveaway? I missed that part.
That's a great question. It's on the Discord server somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. Shay, can you help me out with that one? Do you know where it is?
Announcements.
It's in the notices channel.
Yeah, notice it.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. And again, that password is yay voice retreat exclamation mark, I think. Good. Okay.
There's no
the
exclamation
password-
mark.
I
Oh, is it
also have
not?
a question about the
Okay,
giveaway.
no exclamation mark.
That's what I was
hi,
about
yes,
to
clear
ask.
crossword.
Never mind. I was about
Okay,
to ask
cool.
about the exclamation mark.
Oh, okay. I just got it sent to me in a message. It's like exclamation mark. It's like, oh, it's in the thing. Never mind. Cool. Tortilla, hi. What's your question?
So you mentioned earlier about the when you're working on all that, how the pitch can go up. What's that about, and how do you like counteract that?
So when we start to work with resonance and we're not too familiar with it, as we approach the cap, the temporary cap of our resonance, we can start to push other buttons. Like I like to imagine that there's like a little person inside of our brains and they've got a big console full of buttons, and you're like imagine like Homer Simpson at like the nuclear plant, and you're like, okay, raise resonance a little bit more, and they're like, yeah, okay, bap, and they hit like 5 different buttons. So that's kind of what we have, is that we start to have this experience of, I know I can get it brighter, I know I can push it further, but I don't know how yet. Practicing with the whisper is a really, really good way to start, because it stops you from involving your vocal folds at all, and it focuses just on resonance. So once you get the hang of going brighter with your resonance in the whisper, as we did with the volunteer, go ahead and transition, breathe from the whisper into the pitch while focusing on that pitch, that tone. Some things that can help you are using a pitch tracker, so making sure that that line stays nice and still as you get nice and bright, and so the pitch doesn't wander. Another thing that you can do is try to go ahead and move between different notes with different levels of brightness. So if I do something like this, I can do it dark, medium brightness, very bright. So we can go ahead and move between a set two different distances of tones, with a dark setting, with a medium setting, with a bright setting, and that can also help us to get over that hump of pulling apart resonance and pitch. One final thing that can help is also having a little bit of a resonance versus pitch hearing quiz, and why don't we go ahead and join in everybody with this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a few different pitches. I just want you to go ahead and shout out higher if it goes higher, lower if it goes lower. Okay, so let's try this. Ah, ah, Which way was that going? Higher or lower?
Higher.
Yes.
Higher.
Okay. What about that one?
Lower.
Woo! Great. One more. Oh.
Lower.
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. So we can hear this wonderful melodicity with pitch, even if the notes are just right next to our neighbors. We can make a tune. We've got jaws right there, right? So resonance is a bit different. I'm going to go ahead and do a few different resonance exercises, and I'm going to keep my pitch the same in each individual question. I want you to shout out afterwards, is it getting brighter or is it getting darker? E.
Darker.
What do you think? Brighter or darker? Darker, yes, absolutely. Let's go again. Oh. Which
Lighter.
way is that one going? Brighter, absolutely. One more. What about that one? Darker, yes, absolutely. So here comes the interesting part. I'm going to smash these two quizzes together. So I'm either going to change my resonance or I'm going to change my pitch, but I promise you I'm not going to do both at the same time, okay? So I want you to shout out higher or lower if it's pitch, and darker or brighter if it's resonance. Here we go. What does that sound like?
Higher.
Lower, yep. Lower, cool. No worries if you get it wrong as well. This is all a skill. Perfect. Let's do another one.
Brighter.
Brighter, yes, absolutely. Let's do a few more.
Brighter.
Lower.
Yeah, lower, absolutely. One more.
Brighter.
Brighter, yep. Few no worries. Great job, everybody. And can you give yourselves a round of applause? You did really, really well. Great job, everybody. So, really, really, really nice work. That's a really important skill, is starting to be able to differentiate between resonance and pitch. If you can't hear it, you can't do it in your own body. So go back to one of the earlier lectures that I provided. I think lectures 2 and 3 has a similar sort of thing for practice. And just try and see if you can pull those things apart. And as well, a pitch tracker is really going to help. Okay, I know there might be a few more questions, but I'm going to have to move on just for the sake of time. We'll have some more Q&A stuff at the end, but I want to get another volunteer on here. So let's take a look at the sheet, and we'll keep it moving. I'm having to like look underneath my headset at my PC, and it's very difficult. It'll be just a sec. Okay. Alrighty. Do I have an Ayaku Kazuki 26CF anywhere?
I'm over here.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Come on ahead and join us on the stage. And if we can get another round of applause for Ayaku, please. Woo! Great one. Let's get you on. Well done being brave enough to come on up here. I know it takes a lot of guts. So, welcome. I love your Avi, by the way. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'll start this timer off. Here we go. Let's start the timer. Cool. So again, I'd love to know how are you feeling? First of all, how are things generally?
Right now, actually, I'm using my lovely desktop setup right now, so I can get a better mic. And yeah, right now it's a tale of two voices. I've kind of got one where I just drop my O's down and resonate more in my chest. I got one that it's a daily driver. I use this at work. Hi.
Good. Okay. So, what's your main problem currently? Is it like keeping those voices distinct and not kind of going between one another, or is it consistency, or where do you find that things are difficult at the minute?
Right now I find things are difficult because I feel like my voice either changes or cracks on my mood. So I think it's a resonance issue. Like if I get like depressed or sad, it goes down lower and it's harder to project.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
somebody will be
absolutely.
asking
Cool.
me for like, stuff across the hall, and I'll be like, hey, yeah, I just can't shout.
Okay. So projection and mood are two different problems there, huh? Cool. So for the mood one, that can be tricky. I think that mood, and I know that, as trans people, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It can be pretty difficult. With that one, if you are in the dumps, the funny thing about voice is that it's so tied in with our mood. I think that with people that we know, we can tell that something's off with somebody, like from their voice, quicker than we can with their face, oftentimes, or with their actions. It's so intrinsically tied into our sense of self and well-being. And when we're in the dumps, it's hard to put in that extra effort. Something that can help is just continued practice. As you get better with this year, you'll find that it takes less of a cognitive overhead to be able to use the voice. You'll have to think about it less. And so when you have to think about it less, when you get more polished with it, you tend to find that even when you're in the dumps, it stays where you want it to be. For me personally, it took me, even though I was teaching for about like, I've been teaching for 3 years. I think it was about like a year into teaching that like my cry stopped going down low, if I was ever upset. And so it's kind of a personal journey of how acquainted with the voice you are. And it's a difficult one to solve on stage today, but projection is definitely something that we can take a look at. So when you need to project, what sort of scenarios are you in where you're needing to like kind of yell and get a little bit further with the voice?
Like, somebody will be across the hall and they'll ask me for a box or something. So it'll be like, hey, I need this, like, are the fries okay over there? Do you need to, like, stock something or things like that? And I'm like,
Yeah,
just let me walk over there.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I get you. Great. Okay, awesome. So one of the things that we talked about earlier was that we need to keep our vocal weight down. Now, this is a problem because if I need to yell and I'm trying to sound all nice and soft, hey, it's kind of like two forces pushing against one another, and it's really hard to get that voice across. So what we see in cis women's voices as well is that when they project, when one thing comes down, when the weight comes down and gets heavier, the other things go up. The pitch goes up, and also the resonance goes up. So when we yell, I'm going to take a step back here. Hey, yo, hey. If we want to go ahead and start to get that lovely feminine yell, what we need to do is have a pretty good control on a few different things here. A good control on our pitch and a good control on our resonance. One thing with yelling, projection in general can be a little bit more intense on the vocal folds. I don't recommend that anybody go ahead and practice yelling for an hour or regularly in the voice. It can take it out of us. So if you're practicing yelling, do pay some special attention to make sure that, your voice isn't feeling rough, scratchy, that the sound isn't changing, you aren't getting hoarse. If it is, you need to take the volume down a little bit. But what we can do is start to take the pitch up a little bit, keep the resonance nice and bright, and I want to try this with you. I'm going to use the word hey. The word hey is really nice for this because we get the air moving and we can just go boom into the sound. As we get louder, one thing that can really help us to get that sound thrown across the room is to start to open the front of the mouth more. Imagine the mouth kind of like this and boom, it's like a megaphone. I'm really opening my jaw. Hey, to be able to project that sound a little bit further. So one thing that I'd love for you to do with me, Ayaku, if you'd like to, is to go from a bit of a lower pitch, and we're going to try and keep it nice and bright, but I want you to try and mimic me here. Hey. Can you try that, please?
Hey.
Cool. So at the end there, I felt as though we started to get into our M2 a little bit. In the voice, we haven't talked about this today so far, but we have M1 and M2, the different gears in the voice. Our M2 is our falsetto. Woo! As we get into there, hey! It's hard to have like a really authentic yell in that M2, so I want to try and keep it in that more chest register, that more speaking voice register. Really, really good though. I want to try a separate exercise with you because I saw that I felt that it wanted to fade away. I felt this pulling force of it wanting to get lighter, but also that M2 coming in. So this exercise here is called a messa di voce exercise. Messa di voce is me butchering Italian. It means placement of the voice. What we're going to do is we're going to have a note. We're going to take a really nice big breath. Our breath is going to be really important for this. We're going to take a really nice big breath in. We're going to go on a note. We're going to go for an ah sound. And we're going to start off really nice and quiet. We're going to get louder in the middle. And then we're going to get quieter again. Have a little listen to this. I'm going to do this on this pitch here. So starting off quiet, coming louder, and then coming back down. Can you give that a go, please, for me, Ayaku? Did you feel that pitch wanting to rise up as you try to increase that volume there?
Yeah.
Let's try this again. I also felt that the sound was coming up into the nose a little bit, like it was almost kind of pointing upwards. Focus on channeling that air through that very wide and open mouth for me this time. Let's go just halfway. We're going to go quiet to loud and not worry about the way back down. Can you give that another go for me? I think you cut out a little bit there. Can you do me a favor? Can you make sure that in your sound settings that you make sure that your voice activation threshold is low and that you have noise suppression disabled? This goes for anyone who also wants to go ahead and join up on the stage today. Make sure that your noise suppression is disabled. Can we give that another go, please, after you've done that?
Certainly.
Wonderful. And I can feel that it just wants to taper off a little bit. Let's try and see if we can get progressively louder in 3 different stages with a ah sound. Try that for me. Good. That last one was better. Absolutely. Once again. Good. Wonderful work. That last one is more where you want to be. I feel as though what's happening is I can tell that you've been working on your voice for a while. I can hear some really, really good habits, but it's almost as though those good habits are stopping you from being able to venture out of that zone. It doesn't feel so safe. So try your best to see if you can practice that intermittently, just like every other day. I wouldn't do this for more than like 5 minutes at a day. Really pay attention to yourself, make sure you're nice and hydrated, and that you've warmed up with some SOVTEs beforehand. But those 3 different points, opening the mouth, making sure that the airflow is coming out of the mouth, and keeping the pitch the same as we increase that vocal weight and we start to increase the volume along with it. One final thing that I'd like to do with you is to start to go into that really soft vocal weight, really heavy vocal weight exercise again, and see if we can springboard off of that into a hey sound. So can you give me a little one of these? Can you give me a again, really nice and soft? Good. And now an please. Good, that's it. That's where you want to be for projection. And then I'm going to ask you, I know it's so silly, to go back to that and then to start going for some ahs. We're going to go Try that, please, for me. Better, absolutely. That's the sort of area where you want to be. So going forwards, a few different things that are going to be on your radar. Keep that breath out, make the space nice and big, and don't be afraid to get heavier in the weight. Don't be afraid to put a little bit more oomph into it. We can spend so much time thinking, oh no, heavy sounds, no good, can't do, won't sound feminine. But as long as we keep that pitch high and that resonance nice and bright, then you're going to be able to get an absolutely lovely yell out of that there. Another thing as well is that femme voices, with them having a higher pitch and a brighter resonance, they cut through the air better. Lower voices, oh, that's just on time. Lower voices, we find that they go through walls and surfaces more like the You can hear that maybe from like a downstairs sort of thing, but with femme voices, hey, they cut through the air much better. This is why sirens, like police sirens and stuff, are pretty high pitched because it travels and it cuts through all the noise. So thank you so much indeed, Ayaku. I wish you the very best of luck with that, and do be careful when you're practicing projection. Can I get a big old round of applause, please? Thank you so much indeed. Great work.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So, just for the sake of time again as well, I want to get one more person up here. I think we can squeeze one more individual up here. Let me just check my sheet. Okay. So I've got Ash Phantom 32. Are you in the room with us? I feel like an exorcist. Like, are you in the room with us? Yes, awesome. Okay, come on up here.
Come on.
I never know what to do with my controllers when I clap. They're just like dangling. Awesome. Welcome, Ash. So, how are you? How are you feeling today? How are things?
I'm good overall.
Now you're sounding pretty darn good already. That's really, really awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself with voice? How long has it been that you've been practicing, and how have things felt for you recently?
So I've been practicing for about 17, 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
I started in October 21, I think it was.
Nice.
And so I've been practicing for quite a while now. And overall, I'm pretty happy with where I am, but I feel like my consistency is not always great. And I feel like there are places I can definitely work on as well.
Totally, totally. Okay. So I can definitely hear that you're doing a lot of things really, really right. Your resonance is in a great spot generally. Your pitch is absolutely lovely generally as well, and that vocal weight is just perfectly situated. I think you're really, really nailing it. I wouldn't be surprised if you're getting she/hers on the phone most of the time. It's really, really, really good. What I do hear is that on some certain words, it's consistency with resonance for me. I think there are certain bits, especially with having the British accent as well. I'm a Geordie, believe it or not, as well. My accent's a complete mess at this point. But with having a British accent, there are some darker sounds in there, and I think that they're bringing your resonance down a little bit. I could also hear that after some different consonants, that things are starting to get a little bit darker too. What I think you need to do, I think you're very near the end of your journey having to work on voice. I think you're very, very close to the finish line, is the first thing I want to say. But in order to tackle these consistency issues, what you're going to need to do is to really do some active practice of speaking, recording, listening back, and iterating on your voice. Some things I'd recommend. What sort of mic are you using when you're talking to people in VR chat? If you're on desktop, what sort of mic setup do you have?
Well, normally I'm using my Quest mic, but at the moment, since I'm sitting at my desk, I'm using my Razer Siren Mini, which is a condenser.
Yeah, cool. Am I right in thinking that the Razer Siren Mini has a little headphone jack on the bottom of it? It might
No,
be the
it does
Siren
not.
X. Darn. Okay. Well, the model up from the one that you've got there. Also, the Blue Yeti generally is also a great shout for this. What it has is a little headphone jack where you're going to be able to put in your headphones and hear yourself live in real time. I think this for you is going to be tremendously helpful. And for me, when I was in your shoes at this stage, when I was practicing in VR chat, which is how I really started to really learn my voice and get it into working order, I was hearing myself live. When we're working on resonance issues, one thing that can happen is that our voice sounds way different inside of our head than it does after it's left our mouth and it exists in the room. So we might not realize that we're actually getting a little bit darker on some different words, some different syllables, but by hearing ourselves in real time as we sound in the room, we can start to pick up on these things and start to get a little bit more accurate and put that extra tiny bit of effort in to get that sound really, really lovely and bright. The other thing that I'd really recommend here is for you to spend some time on Discord chatting to people. Chat for maybe about 10, 30 seconds. Have a recording buffer going alongside. Mute your mic when you're done chatting, and then listen back to different things, different parts of the voice, and start to hear which bits sound really, really good and which bits start to sound a little bit off. It's just tiny tweaks that you need to do here, Ash. You're really, really close to the finish line here. Another thing that you can do is this exercise over here. So on the board, you can see that we've got a collection of different sounds and a collection of different combinations of consonants. Some of the consonants that I heard that your resonance was dropping on was an M sound, an and a W as well. Working, working. We can start to bring some of these sounds a little bit brighter. So what we can do is we can make a matrix like this. We combine a bunch of different consonants that you find that in your recordings keep on coming up, maybe after L's, after M's, W's, R's. This is where I tend to find that people start to trip up on their resonance a little bit more. And what I'd like you to do is to start off with a really nice bright E sound, and we're going to go ahead and combine these, okay? Now, I made a little bit of an error when I was making this. What I want you to do is to imagine that there is a little E, like before each of these. It's going to be like E-T, phone home, haha, E-W. That's the worst E I've ever drawn. But imagine a little E back here. what we're going to do together is we're going to go to a nice target pitch. We're going to get our resonance where we want it to be. And then we're going to start to go through these different collections of sounds here. So first thing I'd like you to do is to match me on this pitch. Can you match me here, please? Can you match me there?
Okay, I've got it.
Good. A little bit higher for me, just tiny bit flat. Overshoot, just a smidge for me. That's it, perfect. Now, I want to go from dark to bright on an E sound. Can you give me a little one of these? E, 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 please.
E, 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 E.
Good, awesome. We're going to do that little wind up, and then we're going to go along this way. And what we're going to try and do is keep our sound lovely and bright. Bright before the consonant, bright after the consonant, okay? I'm going to go first. I'd like you to repeat after me. E, 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 we, A. Can you try that for me, please?
E, 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 A.
Right there. I heard it drop a little bit. E, we, A. It got a little bit more closed off right after the W. Try this again for me, and I want you to focus on your lips. I heard it as R3 rather than your R1. Focus on keeping those lips nice and apart. Spread them out. E, we, A. And I want the exact same level of brightness before the W and after the W. When you're ready, give it a go, please.
E, A.
Good, better. Next one. E, we, I, please.
E, E, I.
Very nice. Awesome. Let's go over to some M's. E, me, A, please.
E, me, A.
Good job. And the next one. E, we, I, please. Sorry, E, me, I. Sorry, my bad. E, me, I. Good. And once again. E, me, I. Nice and bright.
E, me, I.
And I hear a little bit of a dip there, right after that. It's very subtle. Just to check with the crowd, can anybody hear that difference after the M? It's very, very subtle, but it's there. Yep, cool. Okay. So, okay, no worries. It's pretty slight. Let's go ahead and try out these T's as well. E, T, A, please.
E, T, A.
Gorgeous. Now the A. I felt dropped a little bit. Once again, keep that A nice and bright too. E, T, A.
E, T, A.
Yes, cool. Okay, next one, E, T, I. E, T, I.
E, T, I.
Cool, 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 cool. Really, really well done. Awesome. And I have just realized that I forgot to set up your 10-minute timer, which is just great. So really, really, really good work. I really think that the best thing for you is going to be recording, listening back, and starting to hear where the resonance just drops a little bit and start to compile a bit of a spreadsheet or a notepad file of just these common different sounds where things start to dip. You'll start to feel a little bit of a trend. Practice this in the exercise, practice it then back into the speech, and see how things feel. One more little thing I'd like to do with you before I let you go is to go on ahead up to this when the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air. We have a lot more moving parts when we start to go into speech rather than this matrix of different sounds. And I want to see again how your resonance behaves as we keep the pitch flat going from the start to the end of this phrase. So I'm going to go first. I want to go to air, first of all. E, when the sunlight strikes, raindrops in the air. When you're ready, give that a go, please, for me.
When the sunlight strikes, raindrops in the air.
Cool. I heard it a little bit on the N. When. Can you try this for me? We're going to take that N sound and we're going to take it from dark to bright together. Good. A little bit more. more up into the nose. Really, really nice. Once again. Good. I'm going to go for that when the sunlight again. When the sunlight. Please.
When the sunlight.
Good, 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 good. Hearing it a little bit on those ends there. For me, that's where I feel that some of the stocks is coming in. Practice, practice, practice. Have a listen back. See where in the voice you find that there are just little bits of gold dust where you find that you're like, yes, this sounds absolutely great. Start to record these different bits and compile them together. What I did when I was training my voice was to go ahead and keep the bits that I really, really like the sound of, collect them, listen to the commonalities between them, and also collect the bits where I thought, something's a little bit off and I don't know what. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be resonance. Really, really, really good work. You're almost there. Keep at it. I think a little bit more work on this and some reading and, as I say, that live monitoring is really going to get you there. But awesome work, Ash. Thank you so much. Can I get a big old round of applause, please? That's great. Thank you so much.
Way to go,
Thank you.
There you go, Ash.
Oh yeah.
Go, Ash.
Alrighty, so
Slay
that's
queen.
us just about up to time. But what I want to do is open up the floor for some general Q&As here as well. I'm going to start off with the online Discord. Shay, has anyone been asking any questions that I might have missed?
There we go, Ash.
Oh, I don't know if Shay's here. Is anybody else watching the Discord? Or the Twitch?
I was muted. We actually don't have any questions from the Discord or the Twitch right now.
Cool beans. Well, I'm going to put on so another 10 minutes of questions. Are you okay with that, Steph, as well? Are we okay to go over this by about 10 minutes? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Any questions? Any last minute questions before we wrap up for the day? Glitched Orbit, hello.
Do you guys ever plan to do like male voice training?
Great question. So the question there, do we ever plan to do any trans master training? I think that could be on the cards, definitely. Some of the coaches that we're onboarding at the minute have experience teaching trans mask voice. I don't currently. I'm just a trans voice feminization expert. But we will indeed, I think, look at that going forward. One thing that I'd love to do is to have a speech coach who might be AFAB themselves. And there's, that'd be absolutely awesome if we get someone like that who's got experience teaching people. But it's something that we're going to be looking at, I think, more in the future. Any other questions around here? Hello, anyways. Hi, RDW, hello.
Hi, Rachel. Quick question. So in the videos, you keep mentioning that there's information on the Discord server. I tried finding it, but I can't. It's like, is it documents, videos, or anything that's been condensed or something?
I think the pinned messages in the voice training text channel is where we've currently got those.
Okay, I'll check it then. Okay, thanks.
It's just a
Cool beans, awesome.
It's all over that channel, it'll be.
Okay,
There we go.
cheers.
Awesome. Any other questions around here? Hi, Anagram, Ellison Anagram, hello. I'm sorry, are you muted? I can't quite hear you currently. We'll come back to you. Okay, let me know when you can get that going. Any other questions around here, please? Any other questions? Hello, 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 Lizzie. Hello, hi.
Hi. Would you recommend training with other people, like together, or is it like better to train alone?
Both, absolutely both. So the question there, should we train alone or should we train with other people? Both is really necessary. We have both active practice, where we are working actively on the voice, like what I was talking to you about with my last volunteer. And we also have passive practice, where we are just going to be using the voice out there in the wild. Both are really important. And actually, Asherasia has an event coming up where we're going to start to have a space for people to start to use their voices more. And we should see an announcement coming out with that very shortly indeed. So watch this space. We're going to start to have some practice events here, just a little bit more casual. There's not going to be any streaming, any recording. It's going to be a really lovely space for people to be able to find their voices and use them a little bit more. So definitely do both. Thank you so much. Oh, that's a lot of uns. Bananananani. How can I help?
I think I fixed it.
I'll pop back to you in just a sec.
Okay.
Is the sign up for volunteers still open?
Not
That
for
was my
today,
question.
but we will be putting down a new form for the next one in 2 weeks. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Where
Hello,
can I
Elephant
find that
Anagram.
form? Where can I find that form? Because that was my question. Because I saw the thing for the giveaway, and I wasn't interested in the giveaway because I feel like I have a mic and I want to make sure that other people could get that. But where can I get into the volunteer thing? Where can I find the form?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Shay, can you help me out with that one? Or 1B?
It's part of the sign-up form for the interest form in the notices channel.
In the notices channel. Thank you so much indeed. So in the notices, with the event, you should be able to find that there. Great. Any other questions around here before we wrap up? Yep. Hello, Ali Jenkins. Oh, cool. Okay, we'll come to Twitch just after this. Hi.
You mentioned that after a while of teaching, your resonance seemed to get brighter after a while. How does that happen? Is that literally because your voice has become acclimatized to talking at that, basically the size, basically? Or do you somehow, is it just like muscular, as in like just because your body's there, or did you just find a way of making your size smaller? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. Absolutely. So the question there is, I brightened my residency even after a year of teaching. How did I do that? So there's very little research on this stuff here. I think that as a community, we're really under-researched, so I can't give an empirical answer. But I think from my intuition, it was a combination of the soft tissues acclimatizing to speaking with a smaller size, a brighter resonance, and also just experimentation. I don't know if like I was able to reduce more tension. I think specifically where I made that gain was with an increase of control with the oropharyngeal closure. Basically, at the back of the mouth, if we imagine that this is your mouth here, and then at the back we have this little dangly bit, the uvula, there's going to be two layers. There's going to be this layer here, and there's going to be another layer at the back. This layer here is something called the palatopharyngeal arch. And when we go for really bright resonances, and just in tempos generally, we can start to gain individuated control of these arches so that they move forwards, narrowing the back of the mouth and throat. I think that's where I made the most gains, was getting finer control over that, as well as like a little bit more control with larynx and tongue positioning. I hope that helps to answer the question. This stuff here is quite tricky though. The way in which I had to do it was to stare into a mirror with a flashlight down my mouth and trying to close these things. For beginners, I would certainly not recommend this because it is a surefire way, if you're not experienced, to start to introduce tension. So don't worry too much about it. But I think that was the mechanism by which I did that. That and then the tissues adjusting a little bit. Great question though. Okay, everyone. Well, I think that's us just about up to time. I want to thank you all so very much again for coming. It's really, really lovely to be here and to help, to help out the community and to talk to all of you and see you face to face. It's just amazing.
What about the Twitch
I want to give.
question?
Oh yeah, you're right. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
What was the
so
Twitch
we do
question
have
again?
one
Thank
question
you.
from Twitch.
Yes.
Cool, cool Mario Dude asks, how long can it take to get my voice feminized when you have a rather deep voice?
Okay, the question there, how long does it take to do this stuff when I've got a really deep voice? It depends. It really depends. So it depends on some of your goals. It depends on some of your vocal selects, and it really, really depends. I've had some students who have spent 2 years with me, with lessons that we've had starting off weekly, then going to bi-weekly, then going to monthly check-ins as they continue to work. It's very practice dependent. It's like anything. It's like asking, okay, how long before I'm really good at guitar? Well, it depends how much you practice, how well you practice, and it depends also on the baseline level of manual dexterity that you'd have. So it really does depend. Everyone's different and everyone has different challenges as you start to get into voice work. One thing that I would say is that if you're specifically struggling with raising up your pitch and you've got quite a low starting point, then work on those SOVTEs. Those SOVTEs, if you find that you can't make a pitch past a G3 in your M1, then your SOVTEs are going to be your friend. And it can take quite a while for that to start to open up. For example, with the student I'm talking about that spent around about 2 years with me, it took around about 6 months of continued SOVTE usage to be able to start to make tones up here. Like at the G3, we found that as soon as we got up there, that would all start to happen. But in time, We found a better configuration. So it really depends. For me personally, I got to the point when I was getting consistently she heard a little bit sooner. But it really does depend on the individual. It really, really does. So great question. I hope that helps. Apart from that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all so very much indeed for coming. And have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
That was actually pretty sick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was interesting, man.
Actually was interesting.
Thank you, Rachel.